So these key switches, you know, you look at behind and you see wires going everywhere, and you can kind of get confused, but they're actually fairly simple, to be honest. They're not hard at all to understand. So it's just a matter of trying to understand where each wire goes. Follow it if you have to. Like when you turn your key on one click, you know, you see this turning on. So you know that one wire has to go up there, and it has to be fed then with negative as well. And then you know power has to go to your alternator to help charge up the field coils in the alternator, so that when the alternator turns they have a bit of charge and then they amplify that charge. So that's why I think this wire needs to go to the next terminal. Now it probably was there, but as I said, it was too wide. It needs to be the narrow one. So what I can do now is, a bit awkward, wires are really short up there. It makes it hard to take out the key switch. So I'll try and get this in up here. Get that on there. We're laughing, and I think it's just about to go there now. Come on, get by it. There we go. Right. So I'm going to get the voltmeter, come back. Okay, so I was getting 12 volts down here yesterday evening, right? That was flowing continuously. So there's our feed there. And we're still getting 12 volts. Maybe we're meant to. But the most important thing is the voltmeter isn't on. So we'll check the final connection in there for power, and we have nothing. So that's what I want. That's the field coil. That's the one I didn't want having power going to. Brilliant. Okay, if we look up on the dash now, our voltmeter isn't reading unless I turn on the ignition. So ignition is off, right? And our voltmeter is not reading, because that's only using up power. If we turn on our ignition, it is. So maybe that's why this connector was falling off the back so easy. It was too wide. So it is working now. So I'm happy with that anyway. And our cutout switch is working. So if I have ignition on, I don't even have to turn off the ignition, just turn off the cutout and away we go, right? So that's definitely working now. Just another little thing that was annoying me. They're really simple, like you just need to have a quick look, make sure everything's working, make sure everything's connected up right. So now what I'm after doing, you'll probably see there now, is I've changed that wire up to above the two blue terminals. There's another blue one there, and that's first click. And then the next position is when you actually turn the key, and that's start. So that's just another little gremlin that was annoying me. So now I can tighten up the battery leads on the earth fully now. That I'm happy that is sorted. And it's nice to have these features working, because otherwise that would have flattened the battery, I'd say. Brilliant. So what's right else I wanted to do? So we're back on four wheels. I can put on the footboards, maybe. That would be a job I could do. Take out the jacks. So yeah, I really am delighted with how those brakes feel. I did a fairly good job on the gold belly over there, but I could never get it to lock up as solid as that. So yes, footboards, I think. Footboards. They're not very important for a test drive, but they won't go rattling. But yeah, I could fit them, definitely. Small issue there. I have the lights just on parking. That's just the first little click, and we have no light on here. So I said I'd take a quick look, and I saw this here. I never really like to see that kind of crack, and I could see a bit of metal there as well, kind of. Now this was pushed down in there, so it's a bit dangerous, but when you play around with it, I managed, and I'm doing this with one hand of course, I managed to get the light to go on. So there's a bad connection somewhere in there, I think. So I'm going to take that apart, and I know them connectors, they're not really compatible with what you'd normally have in your connectors box. So I'm going to cut all them off and make a nice little job, and I'll get that light working. Closer inspection, I see what's after happening here. So they're after going and cutting. They're a strange little connector that's on the end of these lights. As I fitted a few sets of them, they cut the end off in there and they tried to get it to fit in there. So the proper connection is this. So I'm going to fit that on there, and I presume the other one is the same. So I'll take off that tape. I'll do a tidy job on that with some black kind of a tubing, and push it back down in there, and it should be good to go. First thing to do with these is to do the pull test on them, right? That's to make sure that they're on good and strong, and they are. And these are the ones that were cut. So these have to be cut off, bared, and then we fit 2 male connectors on in there, nice and tight. Yeah, that's good. So I can give them a quick pinch as well with the pliers. And then what I can do is I can get a little bit of tubing, black tubing. I can put on loads of other wires around the engine bay, and get this all properly insulated, because one of these was bare, and if it touched that and earthed it, you could have a bit of a fireworks show. So handy job, but we'll do it right. The tubing I'm going to use is good and strong, good and thick. So what I'll do with that first is I'll run it down over this, and we'll get that up on there, and we can pull it down over later on. And that's also heat shrink, so it will do a nice job. The next job is just to cut these off, and then I'm going to insulate one wire separately. So that seems to be positive there. That's the reason why that was falling off. Sure, it was too loose. You always need to give them a squeeze. Too loose. Anyway, we'll get there. We'll get it right. So I went and cut a length of this. This is great stuff. It's got a kind of a padding inside it. So I'm going to pull this back. This is the positive one. This is the one that really is going to want to be protected from the earth, from any other metal. So I'll pull that back. Go back a bit more just to get the connection on. I would prefer personally to use insulated female connectors, but it's okay, it'll do. It's going to be well and truly insulated now anyway. 2 layers of tubing on it. I'm just going to give that connector, the female one, a bit of a squeeze just to get a bit of a grip on them. And then I'm going to push the tubing over it. This is really, really good stuff. Okay, and then you can try this one for a fit. So he needs a little squeeze as well. I want to feel a good connection in this. I probably squeezed it a bit too much, but we'll open it when we push it in, I'd say. If not, I'll pick it open. Yeah, gone a little bit too far there, so I'll get something just to poke it open a little bit. That's really, really tight now. Really, really tight. So what I might do is put a bit of my automotive tape around that. This is like the stuff you find in car wiring looms. It's a nice tidy job. First of all, we'll test our light. I suppose would be the best thing to do. On the ignition, one click. So we're back working anyway. So that's good. Before we go buttoning it up. So this is well and truly insulated now. This looks a lot neater than the green masking tape. And those dodgy connectors. I don't know why they sell them connectors with these lights or put them on these lights at all. Sure, that you can't use them unless you cut them, of course. But still, I don't think they're ever right. I always just cut them off, fit my own. Okay, one last this now. Pull it tight, cut it. And that should go in there. There's a clip there for it as well. Put it onto the clip. Now, what I like about that is now you have this extra tubing. And you have that cloth and the two tubes inside, the two rubber tubing. So it really is going to be a lot safer, I think. So that's good. One last test. On with our ignition and one click and our lights are back working. Oh, I'm at the footboards now, so I've cut out 3 rubber lads and I'm going to fit them in there between the mudguard and the footboard. And to clear the throttle, the brake rod, I fitted in this actually an original Ferguson part that I think it's a spacer for a dynamo bracket. So I'm going to fit that in there to keep this clear because I was rubbing that and I'll be able to touch up. I touch up any damage on the paint so with rust primer, so I'll be able to give that a touch up then when I have it back, all back in one piece. The serial number plate stamped, so in locksmiths, so I'm able to fit that. Now there is the footboard fitted. I put in rubbers 1, 2, 3 there because I noticed that this was right up against that and there was bits of grit and dirt and all that, and it was probably going to rattle as well. The mudguards on the 3 cylinders can rattle a lot because the engine is very torquey, so that's not going to be able to rattle anymore. And dirt and stuff, if the tractor's been power washed ratting, it can now be washed down there. It won't be getting stuck and causing rust and all of that. So yeah, we're happy. Our brake pedal is free, so I'm going to fit this serial number plate now and then get on to the next job. Back here I said I'd take out the clevis pin that was going through because these are an awful habit of getting stuck. So I fitted this original Ferguson nut and bolt through it, and the fitment of these originals is just brilliant. They're so much harder than modern nuts and bolts, and that's just turning there exactly the way we want it to, because this can't be gripped on that because it has to be able to seesaw both forward and back. So that's just another little detail there, another little bit in the jigsaw. Modification that I do to all of these 35s, 135s, gold belly 35s, it doesn't matter, is this. This is a Ferguson 20 spring kind of a bracket. It's used to work on a throttle rod, right? So it's the original part. And this is a 35 Ferguson 20, they're all the same, 135 spring that holds the 2 brake shoes down on the adjuster. So you'll probably see me fitting a new one of them yesterday. So the problem that we have with 35s and 135s is because you have the 2 pedals and these parts are fairly heavy, you never get the pedals to completely come back up to the off position, completely no brakes, right? You always have them sitting down a little bit. So what I do is I get a piece of timber, wedge it under there a little bit. I use my original parts, and actually the bracket in the back there, I'll try and see, can we see it there? That actually is a Ferguson 20, actually Ferguson 20 TVO. It's actually for use around the flywheel. I actually have a bend, right, and a nice neat kind of a curve around there, right? So we're upcycling and all of that, and I pull this, I put in a longer clevis pin, right, than what's normally needed, so that I can get this on the back and I can get my split pin in behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to show you what it does to the brakes. All fitted, okay, and our brake pedal is held up fully, right? Every 35 or 135 in the country, they're always sitting down. You want that to return back firmly where it's meant to be, in the off position. So we've got all our nice original parts in there, 3 original parts, longer clevis pin, all buttoned up. That to me is just the finishing touch for your brakes. On your tractor, you would hardly notice that this spring is there. You press down on your brakes, that's the sound you want to hear. The amount of these tractors that I've been on, and just like the brake pedal just sitting down there, kind of half turning on the brakes. So that's just something they were not fitted with it from new. I always prefer to do them discreetly. Some people put a spring from there up here, but I think it looks a little bit DIY. At least down here it's a little bit kind of discreet, you don't see it. So just a little modification. Repurposing, upcycling, whatever you want to call it, all original parts.